that interoperability is not brought about by mandating the use of one connector and one and only. Interoperability is brought about by agreeing on a set of protocols like OpenID for VC, Dataspace Protocol, others, and then that would allow different implementations, different components, frameworks to implement the same protocols, like with TCP/IP, SMTP. And do you know the reason why it's necessary to have different implementations of software? It's a 3-letter acronym which leads inevitably to the different software components will implement the same standards, the same protocols. CIA? You mean the ilities? I was referring to non-functional requirements. Yeah, I don't know whether CIA is the same one, but some connectors are large, extensive, usable, some are smaller. And I welcome to the stage Benoit and Frederic from TeraLab and from Dawex. We are also on that slide a little bit, because this is an alternative participant agent or a data transfer agent with a different set of non-functional characteristics. So this is no competition, it's just one set of components is optimized for one deployment or a couple of deployment scenarios and others. And Gaia-X has agreed because the producers, the developers like Dawex and IMT and also TeraLab have donated their work to the public domain. So we agreed and we are happy to host that on our GitLab account. Please, I don't know, who is the first one? Frederic, Benoit, please. Yeah. The floor is yours. Maybe you introduce yourself. I'm happy to have you on the floor. And this is for clicking. Thanks.
Thank you, Christoph. I will introduce myself very quickly. So I'm Frederic Bellaiche. I'm VP Technology and Research at Dawex. And I'm also the lead of the Data Exchange Services Working Group inside Gaia-X. And I've been working closely with Benoit on these topics for many years, and I will let him present himself.
Hello, so my name is Benoit Tabutiaux. I'm from IMT Transfer. It's a subsidiary of Institut Mines Telecom. And you probably know me because I was leading GXFSFR, so I know a bit of the previous TechX conference. And we built many prototypes that lead to Asterix. And now we're back on stage just to make it go a little bit further.
So let's start with the beginning, and let's start with what we have inside Gaia-X. Of course, we have specifications. We have the architecture document, and Klaus presented yesterday the new model of the architecture document, which is quite nice. We got the compliance document, which is extremely important because it describes how to ensure interoperability between the organization and the semantic, and this is the basics of the definition of what being compliant with Gaia-X is. And there is also other working groups which have produced documents, the ICAM working group, and this year there is novelties inside it, which are very important because it gives rise to ways to manage role and delegate things, which is very important inside the Data Exchange Services Working Group, and we've been closely working with them inside the Data Exchange Working Group, which also produces its own specification. And these specifications describe how to handle data exchange in the context of Gaia-X. So that's a big start, is there, and of course there's more inside Gaia-X. We all know that we also have Gaia-X digital clearing houses, and they are operational. There is the Loire version, which is the current one, and we're all aiming at using it operationally. It's basically takes as an input what's inside the policy documents and gives rise to services that can be consumed so that people can actually prove their claims and have proper VCs, and in the end have compliance VCs to prove what they are claiming to be as organization, to be as person, also as services and also as data products. So that's a big piece of the puzzle. And there is also the work that we've done so far on the data exchange working group. So this is a summary of the new model that will be published next month. And in there, we've described what data products are, what are participants, and in the terms of data exchange, those are the data products, the data producers, data consumers. We introduce a notion which is very important, which is data usage agreements. All this is very centered to the notion of data product, which is linked to terms of usage and data access and so on and so forth. So we got a lot of things beyond that. And now that we have the specification for Gaia-X, now that we have the digital clearinghouse, now that we have a model for data exchange, what can we do? Well, first, we have to align with other initiatives. And there's this initiative from Strnadl, which is called Trusted Data Transaction. And like you will see in the version of the architecture document that Klaus introduced yesterday, we're aligned with the new standard, which will be issued in a couple of months, which describes the life cycle and the scope of what can be described as a trusted data transaction with, well, you have the same concept that we have inside Gaia-X. We have the data product, we get the data producer, we get the data provider, we get all the steps from granting rights, publication, discovery, negotiation, data exchange, access. All this is described, and like Pierre said yesterday, we in Gaia-X are very committed to this group, and we are now in phase aligned with this new standard. So we get specification for Gaia-X, we get specification for data exchange, we get clearinghouse, and we align with standards. Now, what can we do? How do we manage Gaia-X-based data exchange in the real world? And I will leave the floor to Benoit.
Yeah, so as Frederic says, we have all the ingredients, we have all the recipe, and now we just need to bake the cake, basically. So we will focus on the data exchange part, mainly because this is the moment when the other person, the other company, the other component machines or anything that is on the other side will access to your asset. So this is a very crucial moment because you have requested many proof of trust, and now you are at the step that you just want to verify and use it. So what we are looking for is a data transfer agent. Why an agent? Probably I will have the question, so I will answer it right now. Why an agent? An agent is something that can act on the process. So we saw the process, we have described all the different steps in every specification of Gaia-X, and what we need is a component that is very light, that is easy to deploy, and that will be able to perform all these different tasks before you can access your data, just for the transfer. It should be, of course, decentralized, it should be light, it should be containerized. You should be able to develop it easily because when it comes to data transfer, it's not only big groups and companies that have the time to develop new functions and new components all the time. You also have the SMEs that don't have the resources all the time to deep dive into the code. So they need something that is bulletproof, that has been verified by the community and that we can trust. So the software component come into play after two parties have agreed on the data transactions. So unlike the previous presentation, we're not talking about how you will negotiate your contract. We will not deal about all these different steps. We just come after it has been done. So there's somewhere a place where you have a contract, in a DRL with a lot of constraints. And what we want to do with this component is just to perform the verifications. And as we're lucky, we have a lot of components that are already described through the Gaia-X ontology. So it's a closed list, and we know what we have to perform. Check that the Gaia-X credential is valid. Check if the label is there. If I want to have a label number 3, or it's all already described. We know it's a VC. We know what we need to check. It's the same for usage restrictions, for the consumer identity. Now that we have the delegation, I can describe something saying that Benoit, as an employee of IMT, has access to some software resources or some data. And just because I can prove that I'm linked to the IMT identity, I am able to activate this contract and gain access. So it's really now made easy, and what I need is just to perform this verification before I can perform transactions. What would be the transactions? It could be just granting access to the data, as we saw. Probably you just get credentials. It could be transfer of data, and it could be, of course, a streaming of data. As said by Benoit just earlier, and also with the EU ProGiant project, we implement OEDC for VC, OEDC for VP. We have done several prototypes. The code is on the GitLab of Gaia-X, but now we are not looking for prototypes. We're looking for a small piece of software that people can verify and trust. Just before people ask me the question, is it similar to a data space connector? Of course, it's a component that has some functions that a subset of functions that you can find in a DSP data plane, the part that is just performing the transactions, and also in the control plane, the part where you check the policies. But, and there is a but, first we implement OpenID for VC and OpenID for VP protocols. Then you interact directly with the Gaia-X clearinghouse and wallets. So you can have human in the middle, because at some point human are needed. The components should run as standalone, so it could be onboarded in any different part and could be compatible with any other architecture that already exists. The interaction are not only reserved to similar components. We do not want to say that if you need to transfer data, you need another data transfer agent. It has to use protocols, so any other solution could work if they implement the right protocols. And as we are both involved in the data exchange working group, we are also very, very curious to implement the data usage agreement that we need in some certain use cases. And it also implies humans. So this is one of the key part. And the last one, of course, is the Gaia-X ontology. It's much more easier to be interoperable if people speak the same language and use the same words. So basically, with the native support of the Gaia-X ontology right inside the code, it's much more easier to review it and to implement new functions.
So that was the basis of our intents. So we brainstormed, and we saw that there was the Hanover method that was coming around, and we said, okay, we got to do something, and we had to at least show that it's feasible. And that's what we did. We produced the first version of the code, which is a proof of concept that would allow a subset of the requirement that you've seen before. That's what we came up for the Hanover method. Just a simple, lightweight agent that is compliant with Gaia-X specification. We took some assumption that there will be VCs that will be issued, for example, by a Gaia-X wizard from the clearing house. And then there are inside both agents, the agent of the data provider, the agent of the data consumer. We can right now interact with the digital clearing house for conformity. We can also, of course, interact with the other data space federated services, catalogs, participant management, and so on and so forth. And of course, we can do the transfer between the two agents. What we did not show for the anonymous is the ODRL parts. Right now, there is nothing inside the code that checks for the policies, but the goal is to go beyond that. So that was the first thing that we did, and of course we wanted to do more, so we created another iteration of this code to make it better. So we now interact with wallets. We are interacting with Vault ID, which is nice because it's also an open source project that we know well and that we use also on GXFSFR. And there is a third iteration that is coming up, which we also interact with wallets, but with an abstraction layer, so we could be independent of the choice of the layer. So that's the start. That's what we have so far, but that's only the beginning. So all the code that we've produced so far has been pushed to the Gaia-X GitLab, and thank you, Christoph, for that. So it's all available. You get here the QR code if you want to access directly to the project. That's not the Pokemon thing. Sorry about that. That's code. Sorry, it's kind of fun too. So it's available. There's small documentation. There are two branches, one for the first iteration, one for the second. A third one will be coming in a couple of weeks. And well, it's released, it's open source, it's licensed under an Apache 2.0 license. And now the next step is to actually build a community. This is something that I believe we need inside Gaia-X, because we've been working a lot on specification. We already have codes, and there's a code for the Gaia-X digital clearing houses. But I think we need more than that. We need also implementation of stuff, and this includes agents. So this is a call to join this collective effort to create a seamless agent for decentralized data transfer, compliant with Gaia-X standards, released as open source, easy to deploy, easy to set up. This is something that is very important. We don't want to create a mammoth, something that is easy to set up, easy to deploy, which can be easily handled by small companies, because they are having a lot of trouble handling huge components, which, well, they do a lot of stuff. Sometimes they don't do stuff like Gaia-X compliance. So we took the approach of having something light, easy to set up, and in the line of Gaia-X, and in line with this well-known technical stack. So it's a call to to everybody. I spoke to Kai a couple of minutes ago, and he nicely agreed that we will be presenting the agent inside the OSS working group in a couple of weeks. That's the next step. And of course, now we got to build this community, because open source is not only source, it's a community. We have to build that. We have to see how we progress collectively into the scope, how we manage merge requests, and so on and so forth. So we have to really build this community and start having a software factory inside Gaia-X. Okay, and I guess that will be it for now, and we're open to questions.
Yeah, maybe, Kefana, I can just perform a link with the two previous presentations, the one from earlier this morning and the one just before. In the several presentation, you have this moment where you have all the OPA rules. And this is where we are thinking that we need to, I don't know, mutualize the effort, basically, because it's what is done in the rigor rules. It's just to perform the verification of something that we all know, a verification of Gaia-X VCs. So basically, there's no need that 10 or 20 groups all around Europe are developing and trying to write the same rigor rules that we can all find in one repository somewhere. So that's the main reason why we are not focusing on all the different steps that many people can find in a use case. It's mainly because we need to focus on something that we all share and make sure that this piece of code is working perfectly nicely, and hopefully with code verifications and also security checks and all the rest. Yes?
Time for questions? Yeah, we have time for questions. Yes, absolutely. Please. I give you the. Yeah, otherwise the audience.
Would you still be compatible with the data space protocol, or not at all, or partially, or maybe finally? What's your plan?
The plan is to have something that is modular. So if people are willing to integrate with DSP, that's fine. There is nothing inside the code that excludes this possibility. It could be a way. For now, we prefer to concentrate on wallets, ODRL, rigorous stuff, and the compliance with the Gaia-X technical stack. But then again, it's modular. We can add stuff. We also have to improve the way we handle transfer, because we have to handle transfer for files, for API, push, pull, events, stream, real-time stuff. So we have also to work on that, because there are many use cases. And then we'll see. DSP is there. Maybe it's going to be a standard. What we don't want is to include into these agents something that would be a lock-in. This is something that we do not want. So they probably not, they won't be DCP. But yeah, why not? Why not DSP?
You have been using yet?
Not yet, but it's on its way.
Any more questions from the audience? Yeah, then thanks a lot, Benoit and Frederic. I think one of the takeaways is also that there are and there will be data transaction outside data spaces, without a data space governance authority, without rule books governing a whole ecosystems. And I think this is the direction, this is the source where the data transfer agent using the Gaia-X Trust Framework comes, or that's the origin, let's say. And one possible, of course, evolution of the software package would be to also provide the functionality for including it in full-fledged data spaces. But if you download something from some other web page, you do not create even a temporary data space. If you just download something or have an ad hoc conversation, a data conversation with other organizations. So this is the origin, and I think this is a worthwhile cause. Thanks a lot for the presentation.